Problem number 1. Notice that you have these, this is usually as far as we go with brackets, but then you have the solution set symbols there, which are superseding brackets. So you have to start inside these brackets here, and once you're inside those brackets, you have to go to these straight brackets. And once you're in there, you'll have a -1. 2 minus a -1 would give me a 3. So then I have a -1 and a 5. So 5 plus -1 is 4, plus 3 should be 7.
That's why because I didn't do a superseding bracket.
Ah. So 2 minus 7 is a -5, and that would be B. That one, you just set it equal to 0 and come up with a -1. So if you have any solutions in here that don't have a -1 in them, you can cancel them out. So those are gone. So we're down to 3. Factor out this one. 2 numbers that multiply to get a -5 and add to get a +4. Yeah, 5 and -1. So then when you solve each of these for 0, you'll get a -5 and then a 1.
Okay, I knew that.
So which one is it? C. Problem 18, how many integers are in solution set of the absolute value of 2x minus 6, close that set, less than 3? Alright, well, how many integers are in there? So you're talking about -2, 1, so forth and so on. Alright, well, there's 2 different ways you can do it. One, you can just think about it in your head and just plug in as you go. Or you can solve it out. And I may have enough room if I lower it eventually here, but 2x minus 6 equals 3, and then 2x, not 26, 2x minus 6 equals -3. So if I go over this way with that 6 and add it, I end up with a +3, and divide by 2, it would be 3/2. If I solve this one here and move this over, I have a +9, divide it by 2, I have 9/2. So those translate into 1.5 and 4.5. Now, how many integers are in the solution set for that? Well, we have 2. If you look at it like this, it's, remember, less than. If you look at it like this, you have 1.5 and then 4.5. 1's not in it, but 2 is, 3 is, and so is 4. So it would be J, 3 of them. Common denominator up here on the top. I'll zoom in even further. So what is it?
You could choose either an X or a Y.
Well, you got to have a common denominator
So
first.
it could be an XY.
XY, right.
So you take the first one times it by Y, take the second one times it by X. So it would be X over XY, or Y over XY, but minus X over XY.
Right.
And then on the bottom you have X, it would be an X squared and Y squared.
Yeah.
So Y squared on top, first one, X squared on top, bottom.
All right. So that's still the same thing as this when you just combine them together.
And then you flip them. Alright?
Yeah.
You take Y minus X over XY minus...
Well, we got to have this. Let me catch up with you to where you're at. And then, yeah, you'll flip.
Times.
Then multiply.
And then you just add them because they're... Right?
Now you can cancel out. This one is purposely set up to cancel out almost completely out.
So you can take Y, cancel out one of the Y's and the X's on top and bottom.
This is a difference of two squares. So when you factor it out, y plus x, y minus x, that cancels with that. And you're left with this for your answer. And xy over y plus x, clear over here. Well, yeah, it would just be f because they've reversed it on the bottom, because since it's addition, you can change the order in which they show up.
Everyone else that wants to get on it?
Alright, for this one, it should be negative 4, 1 and negative 2, 2. Between these 2 points, you'll find the length of the radius. So down here is the distance formula. You have to know this for the ACT test. It's the difference starting with x2. Actually, it doesn't matter which one you put first, but it's the difference of the x's squared and the difference squared of the y's. Then you add them together and find the square root. So if you pop in your points, it just comes out to be square root of 5. And that should have been one of your choices up here. Yeah, so it's C. The area, or I should say a square, is inscribed in a circle. The area of the circle is pi. What is the area of the square? So you'd have to go here first. You'd have to do the area of the circle is pi r squared. And if you know that the area is equal to pi, and it's giving you this, that means instead of putting area there, you put pi.
So the radius must be 1, right?
Right, so the radius must be 1. So here's where you can put a radius in. If I lower my marker a little bit, I can fit it in there. There we go. The radius goes from here to there. It also goes from here to there. So if you know this is 1 and this is 1, and you remember that when you draw the diagonals of a square more neatly than this, it creates 90-degree angles. Like that. So if you know this and you know this, what would you do to find this side? Since it's straight across from the right angle. It's the hypotenuse. Pythagorean theorem, yeah. So 1 squared plus 1 squared is just 2. And then to find out what that missing side is, you just find the square root of 2. That's it. So the corresponding sides of two similar polygons are 6 and 8. If the perimeter of the smaller is 27, find the perimeter of the larger. So down here in the clues for the solution guide, the perimeter of I prime, or just I mark, and then the perimeter of I is equal to S prime over S. So remember, go back here and see what that meant. I is the smaller one, I prime is the bigger one. And this is the smaller side from the smaller figure, this is the larger side. So down here, you can set up a proportion like this, where it's the perimeter of I prime, and across from that would be the side of I prime that you know, and on the bottom, the perimeter of the smaller one, and then times S. So you already know those sides.
So it would be, you just set it up like cross multiplication problem.
Yeah, that's it.
Put the one that's bigger over the one that's smaller, and put the area that you do know on the bottom at first.
Yeah, you have to make sure they are lined up like this, where if you have big triangle up here, whether it be a side or a perimeter, you have to have big triangle up here across from it.
Would it matter if we put the little on top?
No, if you put the little on top and the big on the bottom, it would be good as long as you were consistent left to right.
Okay.
Small, small, big, big. So yeah, it'll come out to be 36, and according to the key up here, it should be G.